his league of worldwide Vaishnavas would never take shape. He was a nice person and she liked him, but she didn't think he could realize his extraordinary expectations. She suggested he vacate the Bharti Bhavan so that the governor's wife could organize a women's social center. Quote, you can go here and there for the sake of building a temple, unquote, she told him. You are free to travel anywhere, but these poor women in Jhansi have nothing, so they must be given these buildings for their use. She found him adamantly opposed. No, Abhay said, find another building. Abhay argued that his work was not just for a section of people, but for all living beings. Suryamukhi left frustrated. Abhay was surprised that a member of the League of Devotees was now working against him, and the maneuver was being backed by the governor's wife. Mr. Munshi could work at a much more influential level without having to confront Abhay directly and without his even knowing what she was doing. After she talked with Mr. Bhayal, word got around that Mr. Bhayal had been pressured to pursue Abhay Charan to relinquish his claim on the Bharti Bhavan. Mr. Bhayal owned a cinema house in Jhansi, and there was talk that he could have a lot of difficulty with his operator's license unless Abhay Charan vacated the Radha Memorial. All kind of pressure comes in material world. In December 1954, Mrs. Munshi wrote Abhay in reference to his failure to raise the 5,000 rupees. Quote, Dear Bhakti Vedanta ji, she wrote, you wanted to organize there, but you could not. But I have got this institution, Mahila Samiti. Why not give it to me? Abhay was of mind to resist. He had lawyer friends who had advised him that even though he was opposed by the governor's family, he had a good case that would stand up well in the court. India's tradition of respect for religious building was on his side. So Abhay replied to Mrs. Munshi, introducing himself as the founder of the League of Devotees. He explained the goal of the League, enclosed a copy of his prospectus, and presented many statements by prominent people. Dr. Rajendra Prasad, Sri Sitaram, Raja Mahendra Pratap, and even her husband, Sri K.M. Munshi, praising the wonderful work of the League of Devotees. He also mentioned that the president of the League had recently received a 100 rupee donation in Mathura from His Excellency the Governor, Mr. Munshi himself. Haribol. Abhay said that although work had been going on slowly but peacefully in Jhansi, his mind had now been bothered by Mrs. Munshi's negotiations. He requested her not to pressure anyone about his occupying the Bharti Bhavan, though he admitted, quote, if you or any of your agents do try, the pressure will be more weightful. I'm a non-entity in that comparison, unquote. Abhay hoped that by his presenting the details of his league, she would understand that his was a better cause than the Mahila Samiti. He quoted the first three verses of the fourth chapter of Bhagavad Gita, wherein Lord Sri Krishna described how the ancient science of Bhakti Yoga is received through parampara, the order of succession from one teacher to the next, and how kings are responsible for seeing that Krishna conscious spread for everyone's benefit. He also argued that since, according to the Bhagavad Gita, only a few amongst thousands and thousands of men endeavor for self-realization, and since the League of the Devotees engage its member in self-realization, he was providing an important and rare service. He offered to meet with Mrs. Munshi along with some 15 sannyasis from the area and suggested that she work cooperatively with them and understand the importance of the League. The League of Devotees was benefiting all classes. As Sri Krishna has said in the Bhagavad Gita, quote, even one of a low birth can attain the shelter of the Supreme Lord, unquote. But the Mahila Samiti, Abhay pointed out, was based on bodily conceptions of caste, creed, color, and sex. Therefore, it could not be an important a cause. Abhay closed by requesting Mrs. Munshi not to try to occupy the Radha Memorial, which was already being used for a noble and well appreciated cause. He signed A.C. Bhaktivedanta, founder and secretary, League of Devotees. Aware that he was involved in an intrigued, Abhay organized his thoughts and set down on paper a short history, outlining important events surrounding his possession of the Bharati Bhavan. Short history, Prabhupada, make a note. I came to Jhansi sometime in October 1952. I delivered some lectures at Gita Mandir on Gandhi Jayanti Day 1952. Made acquaintance with Prabhakar Shastri. My idea of League of Devotees implemented. He took me to Rav Shankar for Bharati Bhavan. Sri Rav Shankar agreed to hand over the Bharati Bhavan to League of Devotees, and he agreed to become a member of it in the presence of Prabhakar, Mitraji, and myself. I write letters from Allahabad to confirm. He confirmed my letter on October 12, 1952. Prabhakar intimated the desire of Riva Shankar on January 1st, 53. I got the document needed for League of Devotees and came to Jhansi for signature of the members. Riva Shankar signed and agreed to become an executive member. The document was submitted for registration on April 2nd, 53 at Lucknow, returned on October 10, 53. The League of Devotees ceremoniously started on May 16, 53 and work began. So I'm occupying the building since then and continuing my work. What a history, Prabhupada. Remember all the dates. We went on to enumerate more than 30 points, including news publicity and congratulation he had received. He listed the story of how he came here, sacrificing my business and family. I received a telegram from Allahabad instructing the news of Bulgari by breaking lock. I could not attend the business for work here, and it was closed subsequently at a loss of 7,000 rupees. Abhay thought of turning to some of his sannyasi godbrothers for help. If he or they could purchase the building, his competitor would be silent. He thought it worthwhile to interest his godbrothers in purchasing the building as an adjunct to their own mission. Vrindavan was not far away, a 4-hour train ride to Mathura, and then a short Tanga ride. He had gone there on pilgrimage in October of 1953 and had even looked at an available room in a temple near Kesighat with the idea of staying there someday. He had also traveled there several other times since he had begun residing in Jhansi. This time, he went to the Imlitala temple to see his godbrother Bhakti Sarang Goswami and asked if he would like to take over the proprietorship of the Bharti Bhavan so that it might be used for preaching Krishna consciousness according to the teaching of Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati. But Bhakti Sarang Goswami was not interested. After approaching another godbrother, Damodar Maharaj, who was also not interested in Jhansi, Abhay took the short Tanga ride back to Mathura to see another godbrother, Keshav Maharaj. Keshav Maharaj was in Mathura with a group of his disciples to establish a center, but he had not yet located a suitable place. So when Abhay told him about the building in Jhansi, he was interested. Abhay and Keshav Maharaj composed a letter to Mr. Bhayal, presenting the request and the aim of their movement, and then traveled to Jhansi in a group, Abhay and Keshav Maharaj with his disciples. Keshav Maharaj and his party stayed for several days in Jhansi, holding kirtans and lectures. They had an appointment with Reva Shankar Bhayal, but Mr. Bhayal broke it, so they had to wait to see him on another day. Meanwhile, Keshav Maharaj had time to form an opinion of Jhansi and discuss with Abhay the likelihood of making this his real headquarters. He noted that the people were receptive, but that the location was too remote. Even before meeting with Mr. Bhayal, Keshav Maharaj felt reluctant to stake his whole mission in Jhansi. Abhay agreed, aware that Srila Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati has said that a preacher should go into a big cities and not practice his bhajan in seclusion. And he admitted that after 2 years in Jhansi, he had made no full-time followers. So when they finally met with Mr. Bhayal failed to present clear terms for purchasing the property. He said they were eligible to buy it, but he made it their use of the building conditional. He wanted to have a say in the nature of the program they would hold. Abhay knew that this was just a further sign of shady dealings, and he suspected that Mr. Bhayal was under mounting pressure to give the building over to Mahila Samiti. Keshav Maharaj, having lost all interest, decided to go back to Mathura, and he invited Abhay to join him. But Abhay remained. Mr. Bhayal wanted him out, and he even returned Abhay's deposit of 210 rupees, claiming that Abhay now had no jurisdictions for residing at the Bharti Bhavan. Abhay noted down the latest event in his short history. He has also given me a check of 210 rupees in lieu of my deposit money with him. But he has no money in the bank. The bank has returned it with a remark. The money which was given to him was misappropriated by him for his own purpose, and now he has given a false check with an arrangement with the bank. It is plain cheating to me from the beginning to the end. I must be compensated for all the money before I can leave the building. Haribol. I remember this terms. The spiritual master one time, I take my Guru Maharaj to the dentist that I used, and he was very nice. He charged for the root canal only $250, very reasonable price. But somehow or other Gurudev got the inspection, and then we had to take it to another dentist. And Gurudev was really persistent that he wants to get the $250 back from the dentist. So, I had that relations with him. So I feel that it would be look too bad. So I told Gurudev that Gurudev, I will get the 250 from him, but another way, this will look little bad. I will have, like in a Janmashtami souvenir, I will get his head for 200, so temple will get the bag. No, you must get the $250 back. So we can see the mood of these wonderful Vaishnavas that sometimes they take the stand that he did not perform a good work and he should not charge. And finally, I'll have to approach with my heavy heart and explain that, doctor, you can charge me later, but you have to return that money. And he did it. Haribol. But he saw it as the inscrutable will of Krishna. Events and opinions were turning him against conducting missions in Jhansi. It no longer seemed auspicious. Haribol. So Srila Prabhupada is explaining this situation in his own word as follows. I wanted to start from there. It was nice, big house. It was not given to me rightly, but I was using. So somehow or other, she got imagination that this house is very nice. She was the governor's wife. Through collector and through government officials, she made pressure. So of course, there were many lawyer friends. They advised me, quote, you do not give up. But I thought, who is going to litigate? I thought that I have left my home and now should I take up litigation? No, I don't want this house. We remember how the Gaudiya Math preachers had expended their energy for years in the courts. Having terminated his long entanglement with family and business, he had no taste for a legal fight. He could have fought, but he remembered what Keshav Maharaj has said about Jhansi being out of the way. Of course, the whole thing had just sprung up here. Otherwise, Abhay would never have chosen to establish his worldwide league in such an obscure place. The educated young men and women wished him well, just as they had good wishes for the Ladies' League. The Theosophic Society, Arya Samaj, and many other causes. But their good intentions were certainly short of pure surrender and devotion. Even his one disciple could offer him only part-time help. But this consideration had not been sufficient to force him out. The real thing was that he was being driven out. So Srila Prabhupada explained in his own words, if I did not live, nobody could drive me. That was a fact. But I thought, who is going to litigate these things? It is the governor's wife, and she is pressing through collector. The manager who is in charge, he had some cinema house, so they had to renew the license. And the collector pressed him that unless you arrange for this house, we are not going to renew your license. I thought, unnecessarily, this man will be in trouble. I will have to pay many rupees. And she is the governor's wife. Bribery goes on. He decided to leave. He told his friends to carry on the League of Devotees in his absence. They were sad to see him go, and yet even some of his friends openly praised the work of the Ladies' Society and were glad to see it come. This is material world. They had not been able to help him financially, although they knew he had been unable to purchase the building on his own. His closer followers were more affected, but he assured them that their relationship would continue. He would write letters to them, Acharya Prabhakar, Radhelal Mulik, Mr. Mitra, Dr. Sastri, and he gave them instructions on what they should do, especially Acharya Prabhakar. Abhay told him that he would be calling for him and expected him to continue as secretary of the League of Devotees, even if they didn't make Jhansi their main residence. Yet, it was obvious that this chapter of making ambitions plan for a world movement, going from house to house and village to village, performing Sankirtan, lecturing on the Gita, distributing prasadam, this was ended. And it was not likely that he would return or that the residents of Jhansi could expect to see him again. So when Abhay left the Bharti Bhavan with its 6-foot high lettering, League of Devotees, painted across the outside wall, he felt sad. It had been a natural, spontaneous success for him. The young, educated people of Jhansi had looked upon him from the start, and had it not been for the intrigue, he would never have left. But he felt he had no real choice. He had come as a family man on business and was living as a homeless vanaprastha, forced to take shelter of Krishna. His plans were uncertain, but his desire was strong and his health good. So he moved on to Mathura, carrying with him the deity of Lord Chaitanya. What time is 6? Okay, still we have some time. So we will embark on chapter number 8, New Delhi, Crying Alone in the Wilderness. A letter to India's President Rajendra Prasad. I have got the clue of going back to Godhead just after leaving my present material body, and in order to take along with me all my contemporary men and women of the world, I have started my paper, Back to Godhead, as one of the means to the way. Please don't think of me as something wonderful or a madman when I say that I shall go back to Godhead after leaving my present material body. It is quite possible for everyone and all of us. From a letter to India's President Rajendra Prasad. Prabhupada was really trying to reach out to all the section of the society. When Abhay arrived in Mathura, he sought out Keshav Maharaj, who was now establishing his mutt, and presented him with the deity of Lord Chaitanya. At Keshav Maharaj's request, Abhay agreed to stay there and edit the Gaudiya Patrika. Abhay was given a room, and for the first time, aside from brief visit, he lived in a mutt with his godbrothers. As a senior, experienced devotee, Abhay held classes and instructed the brahmacharis, who were young, uneducated, and even illiterate, in the disciplines of the devotional service and the philosophy of Bhagavad Gita. He had only recently begun his duties when Bhakti Saranga Goswami, another sannyasi godbrother, asked Bhaktivedanta Prabhu to assist him in New Delhi at his ashram. Gaudiya Sangha, both Keshav Maharaj and Bhakti Saranga Goswami, recognized Abhay as an accomplished writer and editor and wanted to work with him. It was accepted among Srila Bhakti Siddhanta disciples that A.C. Bhaktivedanta Prabhu was an expert preacher and writer, whether in English, Hindi or Bengali. Now Keshav Maharaj wanted Abhay to stay and work on the Gaudiya Patrika, while Bhakti Sarang Maharaj, who had to go to the Bengal, was requesting him to come to Delhi to produce the harmonist known in Hindi as Sajjana Taptoshani. Abhay was agreeable to Bhakti Sarang Goswami's propositions, and Keshav Maharaj consented on the condition that Abhay also continue to edit the Gaudiya Patrika, at least by mail. Hari Bol. As an editor, Abhay was in his element, and he was happy to preach in cooperation with his godbrothers. Although Abhay didn't consider himself an accomplished scholar or author, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had been pleased by his writings and had encouraged him to continue. And now these senior sannyasis of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati were turning to him for help. They were practically competing to see who would get the benefit of his services. Perhaps Abhay thought this should be his life's work, serving humbly under the directions of his godbrothers. How humble. His ejection from Jhansi had been a kind of setback. At least it had left him temporarily unsure of how Krishna wanted to use him. But now his godbrothers seemed to be answering the question. Living and working in an ashram with brahmacharis and sannyasis was a way of life Abhay had once considered too austere. And Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati had remarked, quote, better he live outside your company, unquote. But now he would either have to struggle alone with nothing or stay within the shelter of a friendly portion of the Gaudiya Math. Perhaps he could carry out his desire to preach Krishna consciousness within the ashrams of his godbrothers. 6:55, so it's time to stop. the devotees has to go, and also I have other tasks to perform. So we'll stop here. And before we leave, we would like to offer our humble obeisances and the ask of wonderful Vaishnavas and Vaishnavi who take so much austerity to get up early in the morning despite their household duties. So my great respect to them. Vanchakalpatarubhasya kipasindubhaya patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavebhyo namo namaha. So thank you very much. And if Krishna so desire, we will see you tomorrow.